Everybody. Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Friday. Great. Thank God it's Friday. The weekend's here. Summer is started and everybody is out having fun. But I wanted to come live tonight to talk to you about something that's really super important to every single person. So, as I'm waiting for some people to get on here, thank you, everybody, for jumping on. I'm going to ask a question. And if you know the answer, put the answer down in the comments section. So first of all, tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're calling in from, because I know I've got people from the UK, Europe, down in Australia, and then here in North America and Canada and the United States, have some friends from Argentina, down in South America. So let me know where you're from. Put those comments in where you're from. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know what happens every 40 seconds? Do you know the significance of that? Every 40 seconds. Who knows the answer to that? So it's really, really an important factor for our health, and that's what I wanted to come on to talk about today. Every 40 seconds or every 4 minutes. So it's a bad club that you don't want to be a member of, this 440 club. So every 40 seconds, so I'll give you the answer at the end of this presentation. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is about stroke. So May 31st is the last day of May. This is Stroke Awareness Month. For those of you that didn't know, stroke is an incredibly debilitating disease for so many people around the world. Here in the United States, it's crazy, the numbers. About 140,000 people a year have a stroke here in the United States, and it affects women more than men. It's the number 3 cause of death for women, and number 5 for men. And women, we have a lot more factors that predispose us to it, whether you took birth control pills, maybe you had preeclampsia, if you have migraines with auras. Those are all risk factors that kind of are warning signs for you about having a stroke, potential for a stroke, increasing your risk for stroke. We know that smoking increases the risk for stroke, but I wanted to talk to you about some other things, some other factors that are really important for people to know. So if you are African American, did you know that you're twice as likely to die of a stroke as a white American? That number is insane in 2019, that twice as many African American men and women are going to die of stroke as white men and women. And so this conversation is important for everybody, but especially important if you're African American or if you're African. I know we have some friends on the call that are from West Africa as well. So really, really an important message. So did you know that of all the people that have strokes, one of the biggest risk factors is high blood pressure? And high blood pressure, man, it's a huge problem in the African American community, especially 43% of African American women have high blood pressure, 46% of African American men. Dangerous, dangerous statistics, right? And here's the really scary thing. We know that around the world that about 1 billion, with a B, 1 billion people have high blood pressure. Here in the United States, about 75 million people have high blood pressure. And if it's the number 1 cause of stroke, that's something we can prevent. It's something we can control. And here's what I didn't know until just about a year ago, that high blood pressure, the American Heart Association just lowered that standard. Now, if your blood pressure is above 130 over 90, they consider that high blood pressure. And for every 20 over 10 that you increase, you've doubled your risk of heart attack and stroke. So when it goes to when it's 130 over 80, that's normal now. When it's 150 over 90, you've doubled it. When it goes to 170 over 100, you've doubled it again. And if high blood pressure is the biggest risk factor of stroke, we've got to get a handle on it, right? It's so important to get a handle on it. About 7.5 million people die of high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is called the silent killer. So you guys may remember Luke Perry, who was on 90210. He died of a stroke at 53 years old. I'm 55. He's younger than me, and he died of a stroke. He was a lifetime smoker, though, right? John Singleton, the director, the award-winning director that made Boys in the Hood, he died of a stroke at 51. His family just removed him from life support a couple weeks ago. There's so many horrific stories of people dying that are our age, my generation, right, that shouldn't be dying of stroke. And they're dying of stroke because high blood pressure is a silent killer. Most people, that 1/3 of the people that have high blood pressure, they don't know they have it until they have something happen. And then they have a stroke, and that's their first warning sign. And so you may be fit and healthy and thin. Luke Perry didn't look like he had any health problems. John Singleton didn't look like he had any health problems. But John Singleton's family said he had a constant battle with high blood pressure in his life, right? So it's such an important message. So anybody that's on this call, I wanted you to be aware. It's the last day of Stroke Awareness Month. You need to be aware of the symptoms. FAST, right? Your face drooping. Check those out. I've got a post that I'm going to put up right after I finish this live so that you can reference it. But we know that about 80% of strokes are presentable. They're preventable. And so we can eat healthy, we can stop smoking, we can exercise, we can eat more plant-based products. But, I never really understood about the risks for stroke and some of the problems. So stroke, if you think about what's happening in your body, think about a garden hose. So imagine my fingers as garden hose. And if your vascular system starts getting hard, you hear about that hardening of the arteries, right? If that gets hard and you start having a lot of blood that's trying to pump through your blood vessels, and it can't get through there because this is hard. It's not expanding the way it should. Maybe you have a blockage, right? Maybe you have some atherosclerosis with some plaque, but if it can't get through the way it should, it can end up causing a blood clot, and that passes to your head and you can have a stroke. You can have a blowout, an aortic aneurysm even as well. So it's so important to keep your vascular system healthy. So yes, we want to eat well. Yes, we want to exercise. No smoking. If you've been on birth control pills, if you've had preeclampsia, if you have auras with your migraine, make sure you tell your doctor about those risk factors. But brand new in science is something you can do. And it's called NRF2. That's pronounced like the football, like NRF2 activation. That can help you as well. And so there's tons of studies talking about oxidative stress contributing to high blood pressure, about inflammation contributing to cardiovascular disease. NRF2, what it does, you guys, is it turns on God's pharmacy, not the pharmacy from Rite Aid or Costco or Walmart, not Walgreens. This is God's pharmacy. NRF2 is a protein. It goes inside your body and it turns on your genes so that your genes release antioxidants to get rid of those free radicals. That lowers your oxidative stress that's related to blood pressure. It releases anti-inflammatories. Those genes in our own body, they do what God designed them to do. They turn down the production of those pro-inflammatory things that, again, take the inflammation out of our vascular system, whether it's your peripheral vascular system or your cardiovascular system. That's so important. But here's what I want to tell you. This isn't just me talking. These are clinical studies. Thousands and thousands and thousands of clinical studies are now finding a connection between NRF2 activation and high blood pressure. But if you've got a mom or a dad or a grandparent or a sibling that's had a stroke, NRF2 is just as important, because after a stroke, part of the thing that causes damage for people is the residual inflammation in their brain. And we need to find a way to control the inflammation and to control the oxidative stress. And guess what does that? NRF2 activation. So there's clinical studies talking about NRF2 proving it. I'm going to post one for you right after this. You don't have to believe me. You can ask anybody who's sharing this with you to get you some of those clinical studies. But there's thousands, not one or two or 50 or 100, but thousands of studies connecting NRF2 with cardiovascular health, with stroke, right? It's such an important issue. So I'm here in Arizona. The University of Arizona has got a great med school. They just came out with a study earlier this year about NRF2 activation. And they said that NRF2 is at the heart. And I think the quote was, they were absolute certainty. NRF2 is at the heart of cardiovascular protection. And then they said something that I love. They said, nature may have taken care of this itself. So nature may have taken care of this itself. What are they saying? They're saying God's pharmacy inside our body. It's given us what we need to do. We just need a way to activate that pharmacy. And the way you activate that pharmacy is with NRF2 activation. So for those of you that jumped on the call, maybe you weren't on at the beginning, I asked, do you know the significance of what happens every 40 seconds? What happens every 4 minutes? If you do, type it in the box, type it in the comments section. What happens every 4 minutes and what happens every 40 seconds? Because every 40 seconds, somebody has a stroke. And every 4 minutes, somebody dies of a stroke. So in the time that we've been on this call for about 10 minutes, We're coming close to 3 people that have died during this call. That's a powerful number. Think about what you can do. NRF2 activation helps your vascular system be more flexible. It helps get your endothelial cells in your vascular system to be more flexible. It's what nature has given us to protect ourselves. So whether you are just have risk factors for a stroke, NRF2 activation will help you with prevention. You know, there's a phrase, my friend Lisa McDonald always says, the best way to treat a heart attack is to prevent a heart attack. Well, the best way to treat a stroke is to prevent a stroke. So prevent a stroke, get your body NRF2 activated, get your parents' bodies NRF2 activated, get your grandparents' bodies NRF2 activated. I'm telling you, your grandparents will love you even more because it's going to help with their inflammation related to arthritis and fibromyalgia and all the other things that go along with them being old. They'll love you for it, but it's also going to help protect them to help prevent a stroke. But if you're one of the few unfortunate people whose family members was one of those statistics about every 40 seconds and they've had a stroke, or if you're one of those people who's unfortunately, you've seen the impact that stroke is the #1 cause of disability, of long-term disability, the #3 cause of death. So it's shortening our lifespan for women, but it's also the #1 cause of long-term disability. It's changing our quality of life. So if you're one of the people whose family has had their quality of life impacted by a stroke, get them NRF2 activated because it will help decrease the inflammation that's causing the long-term damage. Get them NRF2 activated because it's going to take those free radicals out of their body. And for those of you that say, well, I take vitamin C, I already eat broccoli, I eat real healthy fruits, great grapes and red fruits and red vegetables and brightly purple colored vegetables, that's great, keep eating them. Do you know why they're so good for us? Because a lot of those are NRF2 activators. Broccoli is a great NRF2 activator. But you know what the difference is between broccoli and vitamin C versus a NRF2 activator that you can take as a supplement? Is the NRF2 activator goes inside your body, it's 1,000,000 times more powerful, activating SOD, superoxide dismutase. That's one of the antioxidants in our body, 1,000,000 times more powerful than the antioxidants that you take, 1,000,000 more times powerful than blueberries, raspberries, more powerful than broccoli, more powerful than all of these healthy things. Keep eating the healthy things. They're important for so many things about our bodies functioning. But if you want to activate your NRF2 pathway, contact me, contact whoever shared this video with you, get back with them to learn how you can minimize your risk of stroke and you can optimize your recovery from stroke by activating your NRF2 pathway. So remember everybody, this is the last day of the month for May is Stroke Awareness Month. Spread the news to everybody. Don't forget about it when it's June. Don't forget about it when it's the fall because stroke is impacting us every 40 seconds, every 4 minutes. So send the message out to the people you love. Have a blessed and safe weekend, a happy weekend, a wonderful start to the summer. It's gorgeous here in Phoenix. We actually had unseasonably cool weather. So it's been in the 90s, which is very rare for Phoenix in May. I'm just going to sign off by telling you what my foster son, Jojo, used to always tell me and what I now tell my niece and nephew, Elijah and Olivia, who I suspect will watch this as well. Aunt Shell loves you. Going to tell you I love you to God and back. Activate God's pharmacy. Help your body take care of itself. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.